if you have it, you immediately resonate with me and say, oh my goodness, I'd like to be weird together. I'd love to have that conversation with you, right? Like that's what connects us. And I just think a lot of us go through life hiding that, even though that is the magnet that's going to bring other people in.
And it's scary to stand out because people make fun of people, whether they're playful or not. It is a thing. And then the second piece of this, Kev, I think people are inherently scared of what they don't understand.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode number 1295. What are you doing to unlearn? Today, for episode number 1296, Own Your Weird. Almost at 1300, which is mind-blowing. So I had a really vulnerable conversation with somebody in the community the other day, and it was very interesting because this person said that over the last few years, or last year or so, a lot of their friendships and their relationships have changed a lot because they have changed their beliefs and they have changed parts of them that they value, and they have changed. I guess they've become more unique in different ways. And sometimes that separates us from the people around them or from the people around us, excuse me. And this person literally said, I listen to you and I am a part of the community because of you can.
You got this, man. Keep it together. Keep it together.
Because I can own my uniqueness. That really is it. And Alan said, like, why are we doing this episode? One of the reasons is on our team, during our team calls, somebody said this the other day. They said, I love the team because it allows me to own my weird. I mean, okay, look at this. Just as an example, I'm laughing my butt off. Alan is literally holding his mouth shut and turning red as a tomato because he wants to make sure we get through this episode. But at one point, I was the weird dude who wanted to ask people deep-ass questions. Like, that's where all this started for me. And here's what happened. Some people, I realized, you know what? Those probably aren't my people, unfortunately, because this is my new uniqueness. This is what I do now. This is who I want to be. Other people got attracted into my life who I never would have talked to. I never would be friends with. I never would have met. I never would have worked with. And again, unfortunately, some people left. But I think that, I don't know, this kind of goes to one of the episodes we did last week. But I'm realizing, I think now more than ever, that I think everybody thinks they're weird. I think that's like new to me, where I think I always thought I was weird, but I didn't know other people felt that way too. Do you feel weird? Have you felt weird?
Definitely. My entire
What is
life.
that? Because it's different? For you, is weird different?
Definitely. I think that we all have things about us that are statistically outside of the norm. And I think that if you look at a bell curve of anything, the majority is in the middle. And we all have these different areas where we're very much on the fringes, on the sides of weird. For me, I always felt a little bit weird in terms of my goal orientation. I would say even still. I think that that's very unique. And one thing that I think is really important to make land on this episode is that everyone feels weird in some area. And that most likely, I mean, think about, my very first YouTube video was called Real Life Superheroes. And it was built on this very simple, it was a terrible video, but it was built on content.
The intro was fire, though.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, the intro was fire.
Yeah, the flying over the clouds with the star rising in the sky. I had some stuff figured out. Who knew? And the music. Thank you. But anyways, the video, I had my little notebook with me. It was funny. I was in front of a whiteboard at my old school. But the premise, the content was actually really good. In other words, every superhero has three things in common. Number one, they have trauma in their past. Number two, they're very unique. And number three, they use that uniqueness to serve the world or serve others or help others. And it was called Real Life Superheroes. And the series was going to be built upon finding out what your traumas were, what made you unique out of those traumas, and then now using that to serve the world. And Kev, you used to say this all the time. I want to be the person I needed most. And you and I want to be strong male role models because we didn't have fathers, right? So trauma from our past, which is unique. Most people, statistically speaking, have fathers. We are weird with that. That's weird. I've always felt weird with that. You and I used to hang out every Father's Day. Now we host events on Father's Day for other people with single parents, which is awesome. But so much fun, by the way. I was looking through those pictures the other day. Just the most fun. I just want to play basketball all the time.
Well, you're going to get a chance in 3 months. It's coming up quick.
Oh my God, already?
Yeah.
Wowza. We have work to do. But we are statistically in the smaller part of the population, although I do think that single parents are actually becoming a larger majority. But wherever you are the minority, you probably feel weird. And honestly, what's unique about that is that what's interesting about that is that what makes you weird is actually what most likely is most valuable about you. Because think about it. Whether it's computer engineering or being a lawyer or being a doctor or being an athlete, it's the one that's the anomaly that you want to be on your team. It's the one that's like extraordinarily good at that thing. And so if you have unique traumas and you have a unique gift that was created out of that trauma, that's most likely where you're most rare. And where you're most rare is where you're most valuable. And we don't celebrate it enough. And that's really actually what I try to do in my coaching, which is I try to identify what makes someone different and then actually amplify it, which, full disclosure, I actually started doing this. I started doing with my coaching. I say there's a disclaimer here. Most of your other relationships will have challenges after this coaching, during this coaching. And the reason why is because I'm going to amplify whatever's different about you, which is going to make it more difficult to coexist. Because usually whatever your genius zone is, whatever's most unique about you, whatever your superpower is, in this analogy of real life superheroes. So Kevin's superpower is resilience, hands down. I'll tell the story. I know you never planned on me telling it. We're outside of the gym in Toronto and we're trying to find 5 guys. Okay. Couple guys trying to find 5 guys. It is ridiculously cold. I don't know. Like 12 degrees Fahrenheit or something. I don't know.
Very cold.
It was very cold. And there was a hell of a wind chill. And in the city, sometimes there's like wind tunnel situations going on. And we were outside the gym and there's a little foyer in the gym that is warm and heated. And I'm like, Kev, he's on Google Maps or whatever on his phone. I'm like, let's just do this inside because it's freezing out here. And Kev was like, no. Like, nope, not doing it. And so this is a little something about Kev behind the scenes that no one really knows, or I should say it's not maybe amplified to the extent that it's true. I had a moment where I was like, I'm like softer than him. Dude, I had that moment. Really? Because I'm like, I don't want to stay out here in the cold. I want to go in the warmth. And you have those weird things every now and then, and it's like, that's why he's Kevin. Kevin, Emilia, she has this too. It's like this weird thing. We'll be out in the rain walking, right? 10 o'clock at night or whatever after a long day. It'll be like pretty cold rain. I know we're really weird. Again, this is Own Your Weird, so I'm bringing out some weird stuff here. We'll take our shoes off just because it's more painful. She's like, let's go for a walk in the rain in our bare feet. Let's see if we can tolerate the pain. It was horrible. It was genuinely terrible. I wanted to bring my shoes. I wanted to go back and I want to get my shoes, but I didn't, right? I have weird things like that too. And whether it's resilience or it's compassion or kindness, I always joke, Amy Diaz, my executive admin, the warmest, kindest person ever, cannot hurt a fly. It's a superpower. Now, it comes with a kryptonite because if she can't stand up for herself, right? And again, nothing against Amy D. Every one of our superpowers comes with a kryptonite. The resilience for Kev, resilience to just stay put and never just deal with tolerating pain, even when you don't have to. Sitting out in the cold when you could easily go inside, that's reckless, right? And your recklessness has definitely gotten you into some some trouble in the past.
For sure.
But it's also a superpower. And so on this episode, I don't know if it was your intention, but on this episode, figure out what's different about you. And I'm telling you, amplify it, dial it up. That's where your gifts are.
I've told this, and again, I've told this story before, but I think it goes really well with this. I was on vacation with friends and family friends. Mm-hmm. It was 11 o'clock at night. We were passing around a marijuana cigarette, and I was looking up at the sky, and I said, isn't it weird how, like, we're just kind of like a dot? We're basically just a grain of sand on the beach, and none of this matters at all. In the grand scheme of things, none of this matters, and we could very easily float off into space if gravity decided to take a day off. Like, isn't that super weird? And everybody looked at me, and they were like, no, I've never thought of that before. It's like, oh, okay. That's one of my favorite things about myself. I love that. I want to own that. That is who I am. That is me in a nutshell. Alan and I,
yeah, good.
When we were in Florida. So Alan and I were
awesome.
Yeah,
one
Alan
of my favorite conversations ever.
we were in Florida. It was Bianca and Emilia were with us, but I think they went to bed and you and I stayed up and we were watching Gladiator.
Yep.
Gladiator. The next day, and right now I'm very tired. When I'm very tired, I tend to just be more silly. The next day we were flying home. And I was like, Alan, isn't it weird, man? Like, think about this. I said, just think about it. Take yourself out for a second. Isn't it weird that tomorrow morning, you, I, and them, we're going to get on a plane. And we're going to fly through the air in a metal tube at 500 miles an hour. And the person driving, we've never met. We're not even meet. I don't even know what this person looks like. I don't know what, I don't know if they're happy at life. Like, does their relationship suck? I don't know. I have no idea.
Are they sober?
Are they sober? How long have they been doing it for? It's not, you don't get like an introduction to the pilot. It's just like, you just get on the plane and then you strap your seatbelt on and you just go. And like, how weird is that? That's the weirdest thing ever.
And
it's the weirdest thing ever.
Dude, Uber, it's like,
Uber, weirdest
thing ever. Some random stranger shows up at your door and you get in their car and go somewhere.
Yeah.
And dude, back in when we were kids, it was like, don't get in cars with strangers. We do that every day now without even thinking about it. And
I think your weirdness is awesome. I really do. If you're listening, I most likely would resonate most with your weirdness.
Yeah.
Not the stuff that I don't want to say everybody else likes, but I think I don't want to say weird a million times in this episode. I think that's the resistance. That's the struggle for people is, to Alan's point, the weird things about you are probably your favorite parts, but they're probably other people's least favorite parts, or at least other people don't resonate with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue. Now, I'm blessed because I started this podcast in very weird ways. It was just weird. Just talking about life and philosophy and stuff I didn't fully understand. And now I get to do it every day, and I do it on other podcasts, and that's all awesome. For me, it all worked out, and we kind of built the community, which I'm grateful for. For you, it really is, you have to embrace it, and you have to appreciate it long before you'll ever get that over to somebody else, because you have to believe in it. You have to believe that it's not weird to be weird, because it's not. I don't know if that'll land, but the fact that I think about stuff like that, that's awesome. That gives me a perspective towards life and the universe and this experience that a very few other people will have. If you have it, you immediately resonate with me and say, oh my goodness, I'd like to be weird together. I'd love to have that conversation with you, right? Like, that's what connects us. And I just think a lot of us go through life hiding that, even though that is the magnet that's going to bring other people in.
Well, 2 reasons why I think people are afraid of their own weird. One, I remember it was episode 24. You and I met Danielle. Shout out to Danielle Murr. She was on the Hillman Morning Show. We both listened to her in our 20s,
Mm-hmm.
And she's since become a dear friend, client, all kinds of awesome stuff. But anyways, and shout out to you, Danielle, if you're listening. We get to her house and we have this interview. And it was a great interview, laughs, great. And she's like, 1 sec, I just got to go feed my squirrel. And it was like, you and I were so pumped about that, and there was no judgment whatsoever. There was no making fun of or anything. And sometimes I wonder if that's unique to us. Because whether it's Danielle or it's my clients or it's my past friends, I always feel like people felt encouraged to be weird. I have tons of stories coming up right now. I have one friend of mine, sophomores. You were in this class, Kev, and he's like, I want to be a famous actor like the actor on Smallville. And I was like, you can totally do it. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah, man. The actor on Smallville obviously thought he could do it, right? Well, you're a good-looking guy. You're going to be fine. And again, I didn't understand any of this back then. I was just like, I really thought he could do it. Like, I'm not even kidding. I was like, yeah, you totally could, right? And I was calculating in my mind, okay, good-looking guy, go to LA, make it happen, right? All good. But I remember later on, he's like, you were the only one who ever said that. Everyone else made fun of me. I remember thinking to myself, like, why would they make fun of you? That's like an awesome idea, right? I wanted to work in show business at one point. I wanted to be a talent manager. It's like, why is that made fun of? I think that's why people don't own their weird. You get made fun of.
Yeah.
I like love math and I love physics. And I have a friend of mine who loves physics, and he introduced me to Algorithms to Live By. I love that book. That book is awesome. I guess that's weird. I think this podcast is weird.
Weird is different, I think.
I know.
It's almost like to your point, it's the smaller segment. Like whatever the smaller segment is if you go to think of it this way. You go to a sporting event and they do the wave. Woo, they do the wave. If you don't do the wave, you're weird. Everybody else is normal as hell because they're doing the wave. Even though the wave is really weird. It's like
it's uncomfortable to not do it.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable to be the person that stands out for many of us. Maybe not for everyone.
So group coaching was definitely an experience for me. Getting to know the people was really, really cool. Everybody's kind of moving towards the same goal. And I definitely started to see the value in what Kevin and Alan were presenting to us. PPT for me was something that was really huge. I was looking for a system to help me kind of keep track of the things that I had to do every day to make sure that I was productive. I feel like I got so much value out of it, and I am so grateful that I took the leap and I decided to join.
It's scary to stand out because people make fun of people, whether they're playful or not. It is a thing. And then the second piece of this, Kev, I think people are inherently scared of what they don't understand. I do believe that to be true, and I think that goes all the way back to evolution. And if you don't believe me, when you're in the ocean and you don't know what's below you, are you freaking out? I am 100%. I think people are afraid of what they don't understand. And I think that that's inherent. I think that's very biological. I think it creates a trauma response. And I think that anything that doesn't fit in is uncomfortable because it triggers fear. And one of the trauma responses is to tear down. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fight to either be better or fight to tear down. And I think that anything that's weird, I mean, when you were training to be a fighter, that was weird. And I guarantee you people talked behind your back and made fun of you, but they wouldn't do it to your face because you're a fighter. But like anything that's way outside the norm usually gets torn down in some way. And I think that we've created a culture I'm very proud of where that's not happening.
Yeah.
You know, and I really do believe that anyone who has the courage to own the parts of them that's weird is going to be far more successful. And I know this for a fact, regardless of success, you're going to be way more fulfilled.
It's so important to figure out where people like you, whatever people like you mean, whatever that means. Does that mean extremely open-minded? Does that mean whatever, right? Whatever that means to you. And you have to figure out where those people are. That's the answer is it doesn't necessarily have to be people that are into the same thing as you. This is an interesting example. And I've said this to Taryn before. If you've never been to a dispensary where they sell, like if you go to a recreational dispensary where they sell marijuana products, nicest place in the world. I'm not even kidding you. The nicest people ever of all time work behind the counter. Nicest humans ever. the least judgmental. Everybody, there's so much inclusiveness, and everybody's like everybody's different. Everybody has their own thing. They have their own style, different hair, big earrings, no ear. It's just, why? Because they're all kind of considered outcasts, I think. Imagine, we have people, a couple members in our community that work in the marijuana industry. And it's like, imagine going to somebody, like meeting your partner's parents. Like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work at the dispensary. Like, that right there makes you quote unquote weird. But everybody there bands together as a family because everybody probably feels a little bit weird. The nicest people in the world. I tell Taryn that all the time. If NLU falls through, I'm going to be working at the weed store. For sure. For sure. People are awesome there, and they're not judgmental. But that's kind of the common thing there is we want you to be yourself. The only way you're allowed to work here is if you be yourself. That's okay, cool. That's a great culture to be around.
As long as yourself isn't tearing others down.
Correct. But
And that's really...
It's like, what is the common thread of your weirdness? For me, I like to think about things that I'll never fully understand and don't matter that much, but they're cool to think about. There's very little there's very little downside to think of, like, what would happen if gravity took a day off. It's most likely never going to happen. It might, I don't know, right? I don't think it will. There's not a lot that goes into that. Like, it's not a super high, what's the word I'm looking for?
ROI.
Yeah, but the negative of that. It's not super serious. So, like, there's not a lot that's going to come from that. Like, not a lot of negative, you know what I mean? Like, it's a very positive thought initially.
Oh, for sure.
So to me, it's almost like, okay, if you're the type of person who thinks super weird thoughts that are about positive things, you're my type of person, most likely. That you fall into that bucket. So figure out what bucket you would fall into. And last thing I'll say on this is a weird episode. I love it. We are all extremely unique. Extremely unique. But we all share very similar, or we have similar core beliefs, aspirations, values, thoughts. We have core things. Yes, maybe your hairstyle and what you wear is unique or whatever, the way you speak, whatever it is. But there are things about you that other people have as well that they probably think are super unique. And there's a community of those people out there somewhere.
And the internet enables you to find them and them to find you. Yeah. And that's one of the cool things about the internet. There's a lot of really challenging things, all the distractions being preyed upon by marketers that aren't real. Their products aren't real, just Fugazis everywhere. A Fugazi is something that's fake, I think.
It's actually, I think it's a band too, believe it or not. I think there's a band called Fugazi.
Really?
Interesting.
So. Well, but the good thing about the internet is that you can find people who are weird in the ways that you are and who celebrate that. And whereas in the past, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, really, you pretty much had your town or your city to find friends. And I remember when I was growing up, I was obsessed with Halo, which is I actually had a conversation with, shout out to Bonnie. I had a conversation recently with one of my clients about Halo because I was doing the Call of Duty analogy. And I asked her, because you know the levels. Kill to death ratio. That thing.
Okay,
yeah. And so anyways, I coach her and her business partner, and it's two of them at the, on the Zoom, and I'm doing a Call of Duty reference, and she's like, "Can you use Halo?" And I was like, "Perfect." And then I was like, "Crap, they don't have kill to death ratio, so I kind of can't." But anyways, I was obsessed with Halo in high school, and I played video games every day. I was obsessed. I was so weird, and I was nerdy, and I was made fun of. But the people who loved Halo were like trying to be my friends. They wanted me in their clan. I remember when they got me on the Uxbridge Knockouts clan or whatever. I think UXK or something like that. I got us to like the highest level in a very short amount of time. I felt so, and again, I just want to share this vulnerably. In high school, I didn't feel very loved, and it was a hard time for me. Do you remember Brian Shaw? Brian Shaw. Shout out to Brian Shaw. Him and Maka, those guys, they had a clan in Halo, and they were so pumped to have me on their team. And in hindsight, I think in some ways they're just kind of using me to get to level 20. But I remember I got them to level 20 in basically like a day, right? And back then, that was a big deal for me. Everyone who liked Halo liked me. And it was a common core value that we had in common. I didn't know any of that back then. All my friends just happened to love Halo. No, all my friends happened to be the people who love Halo, because Halo is what attracted us to each other, and the LAN parties, and remember Nick and T and that whole group, right? And all the people who love math just happen to be my friends, right? All the athletes and baseball players happen to be your friends, Kev. It's because we had mutual common core values. We owned our weird.
It is.
You know? And hopefully this episode, two things. One, be more open-minded. Two, figure out what's weird about you and figure out how to add value to the world with that. And if you can do that and live in that, your passion, your purpose, and your profit, I'm telling you, Kevin and I, we've designed a whole life around having weird conversations about life. And we made it, what was always weird about me? Goals and dreams. I always had tons of goals and dreams. What was weird about Kev is deep conversations about weird stuff. Yeah. And what is the podcast? We have goals and dreams and deep conversations about weird stuff. So you can do it, and you should.
This isn't the answer, but it's almost like, go find someone weirder than you. And it's going to be totally fine. Like, if you're a podcaster and you hang out with me, I'm way weirder than you.
Right.
I'm super weird. I talk to podcasters all day. I live podcast. That's how we make our living. If you come to me and say, I know it's super weird that I want to start a podcast. What do you mean? No. It's normal as hell. Of course you should start a podcast. It's the best. It's the best. That. It's like, I know it's kind of weird that I do this isn't me. But it's kind of weird. I know I'm a weirdo because I do ultra marathons. It's like, not if you hang out with a bunch of other ultra marathoners. It's not. It's normal as hell. It's weird not to do it. So, again, I think the ultimate goal is to get to the place where you're not judgmental, and I'm not saying you are if you're listening, but you're not judgmental of what other people's weird is. You're most likely not if you listen to the show. But you understand that if you meet and find other people like you, you're always going to feel more safe that way. Mm-hmm. Really. It's just, what is unique about you? What is the through line of that? For me, I think the other thing is, like, I definitely had a judgmental time. I was ignorant early in life for sure. But that's one of the common things that we have is, like, I don't care. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care how you identify. I don't care what your orientation. I don't care about any of that. I want you to be yourself, and I want you to have a safe place to grow. Is that weird? I don't care. I love it. That's what it is.
Well, my deepest core belief is choice, Kev. So it makes sense. I want everyone to be able to choose. I remember one time someone asked me, "What's your take on politics? Like, what are you? Are you a moderate, or are you Democrat or Republican or whatever?" I said, "I am whichever one is for freedom of choice. No matter what the debate is, if it takes away freedom of choice, I am most likely in disagreement with that. And the only thing that I don't want anyone to do, the only thing I'm against, quote unquote, is not allowing other people to choose. Like at the NLU community, whatever you identify with, whoever you want to be with, I don't care if you're bisexual or lesbian or homosexual, I don't care. It does not matter. But if you are tearing other people down for being who they are, that I do have a problem with. And that's it. That's the only group that I disagree with, is the people that are tearing other people down who are trying to be themselves.
We're weirdos. In the best
Definitely.
way. In the best way. And if you're listening and you want to be weird with us, keep listening. Because you're safe. And again, 1,300 episodes almost of talking about this type of stuff. It's the best in the world. And I would not have it any other way.
At 10 o'clock on a Wednesday.
10 o'clock on a Wednesday. Yeah, I'm excited to be done. It's interesting. Yeah, you thought we were going to get off early tonight. It's like, okay, man. I don't know what are you thinking? Of course we're not going to get off on time. Next Level Nation. If you are looking for a group of other human beings who are into what you're into, growth, self-awareness, trying to build more self-belief, trying to understand what self-worth means to them, trying to be more consistent with habits. I know some of that might seem weird in your circles. I completely understand. In our group coaching, it is not weird. That is what we're aspiring to. We have some spots remaining for the group that is starting on April 11th. Please, if you have been listening to this show and have ever said, you know what, I'm going to do that eventually, hopefully eventually is now. And we are excited to have you there. So link is in the show notes, and we would love to see you.
And if you want to read a weird book with other weird people, Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess by Dr. Caroline Leaf. It is an extremely, extremely deep and powerful book, and we joke on book club, it might as well be called Everything's Your Fault, but that's okay, because now you can change. That's not the title, obviously. But book club is every Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link to register will be in the show notes. You do not have to have read every single word of the chapter. You don't have to have anything prepared. You can come, listen in, turn your mic and camera off, and just listen, or you can engage as much as you'd like. It's a very welcoming community if you're into growth and personal development. And most importantly, it's good incentive to read consistently. So if you want to read more, public accountability is the way, and book club is the way.
Full disclosure, I did it again where I don't have next week's next episode chosen. I promise, if you're listening to this, this is the last recording we did before our event. So now that we're going to be in a normal schedule, I will get my S together and I will have the titles chosen in advance. And I'm sure the team will be happy to know that as well. But again, this was an interesting episode, and this one was near and dear to our heart because that's what we've built this business and this brand on. So we love you all, and we're grateful that you are your unique selves. As always, we love you, appreciate you, grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans, we have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
And that's that, Next Level Nation.